Wow, that's an impressive opening.
Indeed. Well, welcome to the premiere episode of Proof of Work. I'm your host, Gerald with MattySats. How you doing, brother?
I am well, sir. It's good to connect with the crypto oracle.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank Bitcoin Live. Happy HODL days. I'm wearing my Bitcoin
Oh yeah,
Christmas t-shirt. HODL through the HODL days, y'all. Please and thank you.
yes, it's what it's about. So lots
Indeed.
to cover. What are we talking about here in this first episode of Proof of Work? Because you are so smart and you cover a lot of stuff in your podcast in the years that I've known you. But what are we going to get into today? And what's kind of a rundown what we want to cover?
So we're going to talk about why Bitcoin really is moving, what is really happening, because a lot of people are going to tell
Hmm.
you it's Binance, it's SBF. And again, this is very little to do with why Bitcoin is making its move. We're going to talk about obviously the hash rate because that's what's really
Hmm.
going on. We're going to talk about the ETF and what's going on with BlackRock
Yeah,
and Fidelity. And we'll have some fun too. We'll talk about some
I love it.
news and get into it.
Get into it. Well, let's do it then. The first item up for bids, I should say, or topic up for bids. Where do you want to kick this thing off at, Mr. Oracle?
Let's go with troll of the week. So
You want to go already with the troll of the week,
let's
dude?
have
He's
fun. Let's
going
start
there.
off
All
with
right.
some fun.
All
And
right.
we're gonna go there. My first recommendation is for the troll of the week is always mute them. Don't block them because if you do block them, you will literally you're just going to mess up your tweet cred. And I don't know if you know what your tweet cred is, but when Elon
I
open
have
source,
zero tweet cred, so
yeah, and your mine is pretty low. But if you don't follow the rules of Twitter, which I've said this before, they will ding your account and your tweet, or it's called tweet cred, goes down, right? So if you swear, that's one thing. So I used to swear a lot. I kind of limited it down a lot, and if I do swear, I use characters to kind of censor
creative
myself.
ways. Yeah, you can come up with
Exactly.
creative ways to say the F word. Yeah.
But one of
Yeah.
the things I learned when I was looking at this video I want to say it was like a couple months back about this when he open sourced it, was that if you do block people,
Mhm.
it hurts your score like the worst. So I have lots of trolls. Everyone does. If you have more than a couple thousand followers, you probably have trolls. And I know there are some trolls that need to be blocked, but try and limit it to it. That's your tip of the day, of the week, for X and Twitter. Try to mute and not block. But this guy's name is Owen Benjamin. And I just went through his feed, and he's first off, I don't know how he's a comedian. He's not very funny. Most of his jokes are not funny at all. But what you'll notice is that when he engages with the Bitcoin community, he gets really high engagement, and his non-Bitcoin stuff is like it's not that it doesn't get engagement, but it's like minimal engagement. Um,
Give us an example. Do you have something like you can
I
share? Because I might have missed some of this. So maybe
Yeah,
do you
let me
have
pull it
something you
up.
could share with
I'm
us in
gonna
the
pull it
group?
up right now on
Yeah.
Twitter. I
Yeah,
had
that'd be
my
good.
account pulled up, but give me a second. Let me see if I can find there he is. Voila. And let's just pull up and see. Yeah, here's one. I think Bitcoin was made so when people saw weakness in the dollar, instead of buying the solution, gold and silver, they put their money into a currency backed by computers' inability to do a math problem. It's actually genius
Hmm.
how they will most likely be able to refinance. What is he talking about? Yeah, again, this guy, I said this to him on Twitter several times. Stick to comedy, bro. The fact that you can fill up a stadium and get people to pay you to tell jokes, stick to your day job. That's my recommendation.
Wow. Okay.
Um, but he's again, the last couple of days he's just been throwing these tweets out, jibing at the Bitcoin community, and obviously getting
Hmm.
garnering a ton of engagement because uh that's that's how it is. You say something inflammatory on the social media, and here comes the masses to call you out or engage.
I'm doing it wrong then, obviously, because I've got zero tweet cred and nobody engages with me. So,
Well, again,
right.
it's one of those things. There's always going to be a Bitcoin troll, and when Bitcoin's doing well, they come out of the
I
woodwork,
love them.
right? Yeah,
They're
of
fun.
course, of
They're fun
course.
to play
There's
with.
like I think they're like whole like let's point out the two biggest of the week. And these honorary troll awards go to
Oh, oh,
Jamie
please,
Dimon,
please, please.
Jamie
Yes,
Dimon,
yes. I was. Oh my God, yes.
and Senator Elizabeth Warren.
And
Again,
Pocahontas. I was. Oh my. This is why you and I do this show. Like I don't even have to. You finish my sentences. I almost finish your sentences. Oh,
well,
and I gotta get
again,
a better camera because I'm cutting out like I'm like
they
Bruce
have to
Willis, like on
realize
the
that
Sixth
what
Sense.
they're
Look at me.
doing is very dangerous, right? And I don't think I'd
Oh
even
my
had this on
gosh.
the outline today, but let's talk about it. Them calling
Joe,
out,
Jamie Dimon is the
yeah,
biggest
again,
turd
them
burglar.
calling out Bitcoin in this committee meeting is, again, to me, very bullish for Bitcoin because they thought it was going to make Bitcoin do this, and it actually did the opposite the next day or so. So to me, that's actually a very bullish indicator because usually when there's bad news or FUD in the airwaves and
Mhm.
we're in a bearish market, the price action will go down a little bit. Um, but what they're doing is
But
actually
let me ask you
good.
this though. Let me ask you this. Why would somebody like Jamie Dimon? He obviously understands blockchain technology. At JP, they've been using a version of Ethereum, right?
Mhm.
A licensed permission enterprise version, and they've been using that for years. So he understands the premise, and he's even said on record that he likes blockchain technology, and they've been using it. So he obviously understands it. So why would he come out and say something completely stupid and talk out of his ass when he knows that they can't shut Bitcoin down? He's like, if I was in the government, I would shut that. Jamie, you're a complete, you can't do that. So why would he take and say that? That doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't, and it's actually very dangerous. Let's be very clear. Bitcoin and the
Yeah.
dollar and Tether have been literally tied together for many years now. My newest
Mhm.
theory and my newest prediction, and this has some validity. You can do some research on this, and it goes back to the stimulus checks. Right, Bitcoin saved America. Right. Let me say that again. Through
I
the
love this.
pandemic,
Unpack this.
Bitcoin saved America. Do you know how many millions of Americans would have turned to crime, destitution? The list is endless. And the counterpoint to prove this is look at El Salvador, right? They did the opposite of this. And I said this 3 years ago. I said, in the next 10 to 20 years, El Salvador will be in the G20
A G20. Yeah,
country.
I know.
Yeah. And they're already
Yeah.
proving it, right? Crime rate is down 60%. Tourism's up 25, 30%. Property rates are up 20 some percent. So again, Bitcoin does fix things. Is it going to fix everything? I tell people no, but it will fix a lot of things. And that's the most amazing part about Bitcoin. And I was the first person, right? I said this before Saylor. I said this
Well,
before Suarez. I said this literally months before anybody started talking about this. I said, Bitcoin can eliminate income tax, and people's head, your head
yeah, you said that.
exploded,
I know.
Marty's head
Right.
exploded, all these people's head is explode around me. And they're like, how is that possible? And then literally 3 weeks later, Michael Saylor said it, and everyone was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So the point
Speaking
is,
of Sailor, did you see right here? I've got it on my Twitter. Maybe Nick can pull it up for us. But Sailor, Proof and Point, tweeting out just yesterday, adopting the Bitcoin standard. And when you look at MicroStrategy, up 385%, Bitcoin up 274, the S&P, Nasdaq, gold, silver, and bonds performance since August 10 of 2020 when MicroStrategy adopted its Bitcoin strategy. So
they're
the proof is in
proving
the pudding, and smart CEOs who had the testicular fortitude long ago, who had the balls to put it on the balance sheet, are paying off. Stupid CEOs who didn't listen, have fun staying poor.
exactly. And again, Bitcoin's going to reprice everything. That's, if you don't know what the Bitcoin standard is about, go read it, right? And I tell people, they're like, "Have you read it?" I was like, "No, I know the whole book, front to end. I don't have to read it
Right.
because everything in the world will be repriced against Bitcoin, right?" And my new theory, and I said this, I think it was about a year ago, is Bitcoin is the gravitational force in the financial universe, right?
The
Bitcoin
black hole, man.
equals
It's everything
G.
gets sucked into it.
Exactly
Yeah,
correct. And we're
it gets
starting to
sucked
see
into
that
it.
right now. And Bitcoin doesn't need the dollar. The dollar needs Bitcoin, right? Let's be very
Yeah.
clear. If you take away the dollar from Bitcoin, you're going to hurt the dollar. You ain't going to hurt Bitcoin. People will still figure out how to trade goods and services without the dollar for Bitcoin, right? So,
Right.
them saying
Hey,
their
let me.
inflammatory statements is, like I said, is more damaging to the US dollar than it is to Bitcoin.
I think it's almost like the reverse Kramer. You know, Jim Kramer. Whenever he says, "Oh, buy it," then run, and if he says sell it, then buy it. Right? And so I think with them, when you see somebody like Jamie Dimon in that position where his whole model is being threatened basically by
Exactly.
a decentralized currency. So yeah, of course he's gonna say those things and make disparaging comments about it. Hey, on another topic in the
Mhm.
news that caught my attention. Um, what is going on with Qatar? They the story is that they've looked maybe like got about 500 billion, and that's B with a billion, to drop in from their sovereign wealth fund, and that they did actually have meetings with Bukele a while ago. And I see Samson Mao from Jan 3, if you know who Sam is, and what they're doing and how they've helped onboard nation states in their discussions. They seem very, very bullish about this possibility of Qatar. What do you know about it, and where have you gotten to in digging into that?
So, like I stated over the summertime when I was looking at the hash rate, right? And I noticed that there was in the bear market, that usually during the bear market, the hash rate tends to trend lower because the miners aren't as incentivized, and people aren't just using the protocol as much, right? So to see the exact opposite, right? To look at all the Bitcoin fundamentals and see them doing the exact opposite, and the price action to stay flat or sideways, knew something was going on. Um, and I tweeted out. I don't think I have the tweet right at the moment, but I tweeted out that I said, there's a big country secretly mining Bitcoin, and nobody's talking about it,
All
and
right,
it's not
hold
Bhutan.
on. That's something I want to ask you a lot.
Go
That
ahead.
was a whole thing. I wanted to get into that one with you as well. And um, yeah, so I guess so. Just to finish up on Qatar, and I've got the story there on my Twitter feed pulled up if Nick can launch over to it. But you'll see the story obviously got some traction. Even Caitlin Long talking about it, saying I caught up with a big Bitcoiner investor in Bitcoin infrastructure. Doesn't think this is about the ETF. He thinks it's about perhaps a nation state. And then you see the Emir of Qatar. This is back in September, who landed in El Salvador. So there's a lot
Well,
of talk there. So yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. So the princes of the UAE, right, and the Saudi family, royal family, they're not dumb, right? They're very smart when it comes to investing. They understand gold very well, right? They understand the
Mhm.
store of value, right? So just a few weeks ago, the UAE opened up a new Bitcoin mining farm that was like megawatts, right? So let
Really?
yes, if you want to go Google that, I think I want to say, I'm not sure if it was Marathon or Hut 8, but let me see if I can find that for you. But after I saw that,
UAE.
um, I knew that you're going to start to see the rest of the royal families on the peninsula start to catch wind of what's going on. Right? They have tons.
Yeah, here's one
Saudi,
right here.
you found it?
I found one. Bitcoin miners, UAE. I've got it if Nick can pull it up on my screen. Bitcoin.com has a story from December 10th today. UAE Bitcoin miner signs order worth over 380 million with micro BTT or micro BT. So there you go. And
MicroStrategy or whatever.
that's on my. Oh wait, what? I don't know. It's on one of my screen. Oh, your screen is open. Oh, okay, let me close out that screen, Nick. Sorry. that work for you, Nick? Because now I've got it pulled up. But yeah, it's that the story this morning. UA. But let me ask you this then, Gerald. So you're because I was talking to a friend about this the other day, about this nation state. So wouldn't we be able to identify where and who is doing this and mining this? I mean, it's pretty open source. I mean, it's kind of like, hey, we know it's not Matt and Jerry. They're not mining
No,
it.
yeah,
So
it's not us for sure. But there's definitely a big country that's mining Bitcoin.
So how do you know though? I mean, can't we find out who that is? There's got to be a way in this open source world that we live in that this is,
I
obtainable.
mean, definitely. I can do some more research to try and see if I can track it down. But it's definitely not Bhutan, right? Bhutan's population is like
Oh, there we go.
770,000 people.
Sorry.
You know, with a population less than a million people, it's not Bhutan, right? I
There we go.
definitely. It's
Yeah,
great
there
that
I got the
Bhutan
story up there.
is getting into coin protocol, but it's not Bhutan.
But it's not them.
It's not them. It's thoroughly 100% not
The-
them. I think it's somewhere in Africa.
But
I want to.
can't we tell where the source of that power is coming from? I mean, you're looking at
Yeah, no, there are reference tools where we could probably track it down to find out where the majority of that energy is coming from. I forget, there was like one tool, a lot of people use it. I don't have it at the top of my head, but my opinion, it's definitely, I think it's either Africa or it is on the peninsula, right? It's the Saudi royal family. But I think personally, I think it's South Africa. The president of South Africa, his son is a big Bitcoiner. So I would not
Mhm.
be surprised if it was South Africa. That's my theory.
How long? I mean, we've kind of talked about this when it comes to Bitcoin mining and hash, and this is a conversation that we had a long time ago with Jason Dean from Quantum Economics, and we've kind of seen this start a little bit. But how long until Aramco starts saying, "Hey, we're mining Bitcoin off our flares"? You know what I mean? It just seems like
It's
it's
coming.
the next
Yeah. So I
logical
mean,
step.
the UAE
Yeah.
is doing it. We're starting to see, Exxon and these other big oil companies throughout the world realize you have this stranded energy. Bitcoin is the carbon credit, right? Like I said that a few weeks ago on Twitter,
Mhm.
and people are starting to realize that, right? You have this trap energy in your country, and it's doing nothing. Well, you start to mine, and now you have a revenue stream, right?
Mhm.
And that's why it changes everything. It changes the whole evolution of economics, right? And that's why it's the most amazing money ever created.
What else caught your eye on this week on the crypto Twitter? I guess it's
Um,
crypto X now, whatever it is.
yeah, well, that's the cool thing about X is X means whatever you want it to mean. You want to still call it Twitter, call it Twitter. You want to call it X. But I think
Mhm.
that's why he changed the name to X, because you can call it whatever you want. So what's going on out there? Let's see. The ETF. So that's obviously the big news
Yeah, that's
of
right. We got to talk
the
ETFs.
world. So, BlackRock,
Mm.
Fidelity, all of these companies out there, Van Eck, etc., are looking to make this offering so the masses can come joining the rest of the plebes and enjoy some Bitcoin pumpage. When's that coming?
Right.
I thought probably in the new year, like February, March. But as we're starting to see the price climb, I said all bets are off if we start to get to the 45 range. And guess where we're at, everyone? Surprise.
Mhm.
And just the other day, you hear that Fidelity is having private meetings to discuss
A sit down, yeah.
their sit down meeting with the SEC to discuss their spot Bitcoin ETF. So as we approach 45, I think BlackRock, Fidelity, etc. They do not want to miss out on the upside from 45 to $100,000, and
We
might see it sooner than later.
on the ETF front earlier in the week, back on December 5th on my Twitter, You can pull it up. I've got it here. One of the brilliant minds at CNBC, Bob Pisani. He's big on ETFs, and he was basically saying that he thought that the Bitcoin ETF would once launch probably be much like the gold ETF when that was launched. A much ado about nothing. It's already kind of factored into the price, he was saying. But my pushback to him, and this is what I tweeted out. What Bob Pisani fails to take into account is the BTC hash rate. And it's a valuable metric that gold can't compete with when you factor hash rate and the growth. It's a solid metric that smart folks can use to gauge the network. And then guess what happened just 2 days after that? Let's scroll on up here. Anthony Pompliano, everybody knows Pomp. Well, guess what? Pomp tweets out in his Substack on December 6th. Here's this whole thing about the hash rate. And this goes back to what you were talking about and what you and I have been talking about. This is a fundamental analytic that you can look at that is uncomparable to gold or any other asset class out there that makes this truly unique. And I think that the TradFi minds like Bob Pisani, who are used to an analog world, are still having a hard time and the concept of wrapping their mind around something like this. And I think this is, again, the hash rate and the hash power, which you documented extensively, is really a key factor in why the price is continuing to move the way it is and why it will act differently than any other ETF.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you have all these analysts on the shows, the podcasts, saying, like I said earlier, it's Binance, it's SBF. No, there's miners that are going nuts, right? Bitcoin hash
Mhm.
rate has hit, I want to say, 4 or 5 new all-time highs over the last
Yeah.
6 months, and price hasn't moved accordingly except for the last 3 movements. So if you can see on this chart here, back in, I think it was November 15th or so, way back, you can see that spike. It kind of averaged
Yeah.
out, but the all-time high was that day, and it hit around 663 exahashes per second, which is insane. Um,
Wow.
and then we did see, roughly 2 weeks later, we did see the price action move. Then we saw it retrace again, and then we see this other peak here.
Mhm.
Um, and that's from December, I think it's like 4th. It's really teeny. I think it's like the 4th. And we haven't seen price movement from there just yet. We're probably going to see that, I would think, right around Christmas time, like maybe a couple of days before, like the 20th to the 25th. So we are going to see another pump coming in. I wouldn't be surprised, though. BlackRock likes to make money, right? That's their whole MO. So they made a
Yeah, they kinda like that, yeah.
huge they made a huge profit when the Bitcoin ETF futures ETF opened. They took a huge short position out that year. I don't remember what the closing contract was, but they made a killing, and that's when Larry and the team started to realize that maybe there is something to this Bitcoin
Mhm.
stuff. But don't be surprised, right? If they're seeding their ETF with actual spot Bitcoin, don't be surprised if they have a futures position to hedge, right? So if they think they can move the needle and make money, don't be surprised if Bitcoin stays in the 40s for a little while.
Hey, so let me ask you then, when we're talking even like folks like BlackRock, or even let's circle back to Qatar, these institutions or these governments or sovereign wealth funds, who are far above and beyond where we're at, where do you go to buy $500 billion worth of Bitcoin? Is there even that much out there? You're not getting that on freaking Cash App. You know what I mean? You're not going to crypto.com or, Coinbase. Hey, Brian Armstrong, I want 500. No. So where do you go to get 500 billion? And again, is there even that much out there? I don't think there is supply wise.
Um, so other metrics, let me just back it up a little bit. So a lot of these people out there that claim to be analysts, like you were saying, don't even bring into hash rate chart into consideration, right? They're not looking at a
Right, right.
Binance chart. Like, I usually try to tell people, you want the hash rate chart, Binance chart, trading view chart, hodl waves chart, And that's
That's
another
a
thing.
another piece of
Yeah.
information that we should probably unpack for another episode, the
Yeah,
hodl waves chart.
we will unpack that very lightly right this moment. Hodl waves chart is just a heat map of how long people hold Bitcoin for. And I have an article. If you want to go to my Twitter page and go to my Medium handle, you can go read the article that I referenced this in Glassnode. It's a beautiful chart, but the so it the spectrum goes from red to blue, just like in physics, right? In astrophysics, right? But the red is for people that hold very short time frames. As we get closer to the blue shifted side and we get to the purple, these are people that have held for like 5+ years, right? Well, in that article that I wrote a couple years back, one of my predictions was you're going to see these purple waves grow, right? And that's a great article too.
And
I
they
know
have.
who Satoshi Nakamoto is. If you don't know who he is, you can go read that article. I think I'm the closest out of anyone. I know a lot of people think I'm wrong.
Spoiler, it's not Craig Wright.
Yeah, it's not CSW. I've been saying that one for years, and most real Bitcoiners know that. But we're not seeing these red color. We're not seeing the red shifted colors as much on a hodl waves chart. We're seeing the purple waves grow and grow and grow. And as we see that, that means, people are not selling as much. And that just means that the price is going to keep going up, right? And we have the halving coming, and this is all happening pre-halving. So I think we potentially could see a new all-time high pre-halving. I don't I can't guarantee it, but it could happen. Give me 1 second.
One article that came back up this week in regards to ETF is our good friend Mr. Mark Yusko, and I got it pulled up here. Bitcoin Magazine, Morgan Creek Capital. He's saying 300 billion. That's 300 billion could flow into Bitcoin after a spot ETF is approved.
Oh yeah, and
man,
that's pretty low, right? Like you have to realize in the world, there's somewhere between 1 to 2 quadrillion in assets, right? And as we move forward in time, that monetary supply is going to grow. But Bitcoin isn't, right? Bitcoin isn't going to keep increasing its supply. It's going to keep reducing its supply every 4 years.
And again, that's what I think guys like Bob Pisani fail to take into account when they talk about this asset class. Gold, we're still discovering new pockets and reserves of gold, right?
I literally
we're
just
not
said
discovering
this yesterday to somebody. I was talking to a client, and I said to them, this is why I tell people gold is not a good play these days, because they're going to keep finding caches, right? They just found this ship in the desert. Literally today, I just read it this morning, found a ship in the desert loaded with all these gold coins.
How does a ship end up getting in the desert? That's a
like,
mystery right there. Like, I want to know that.
Well, let's see, you kind of waited.
Oh, we like that. Is that
We
got the hodl waves?
That is a hodl waves chart, I think, from the article. And this is again, this is when I wrote the article. You can clearly see, you see the purple hodl waves at the top right of that chart, very small. Well, if you look at a hodl waves chart from today, again, this is like a 2-3 year old hodl waves chart. That purple line is like down to where the green is now.
Wow.
Yeah. So people aren't selling their Bitcoin as much, and again, the supply shock is programmed into the protocol. So every 4 years, it's going to keep cutting the supply in half. And as we move forward, right, the miners aren't going to sell their position as much, right? People don't calculate that into the equation, right? Now we're going to, what's it going to be, like 3 Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, we're cutting it down to 3 point something.
Yeah, 3.12 or something like that.
Yeah, 3.12 because we're at 6.25, so that gets cut in half to
Yeah, so
3.12 or something.
3.12
Yeah.
at that point,
For every block now. That's a
yeah,
massive supply shock.
that is huge, right? The miners aren't going to like just dump, right? Especially,
Right. They're not
um,
going to give it away.
they're just not going to throw it away when um, it's at these prices, right? When it gets closer to seven figures, and that's when I tell people you should sell a little bit, but you can sell such a small portion
Right.
that it doesn't even make a dent into your Bitcoin, right? And that's why people
Mhm.
have it backwards. When Bitcoin's low, don't sell it and spend it. You don't touch it when Bitcoin's
Right.
$1 million. Yes, go take your wallet as
Ah,
Satoshi and
that's a
go
great
shopping.
segue. That's a great segue. In that $1 million call, our good friend Samson Mao at Jan 3, he seems to be kind of backing this up a lot more. Like initially, the comments came out. You got it up here on Twitter, Uday today, right there, kind of joking about it a little bit. But seems to think that this is a definite possibility. The article there on Jan 3, and then he comes up here and the whole conversation about a God candle being established at 10,000. 100,000. So now he's talking about an Omega candle of 100,000 in one day. Wow. I don't think any of us can even get our mind, even around a $10,000 candle, let alone something like Sam's talking about 100,000 in one day. Wow.
The halving's coming,
I don't know, man.
and it will
I don't
happen.
know, man.
Will it happen pre-halving? No. But post, yes.
Really? You think $100,000 candle in one day?
And a day, I don't know about a day. I think we're going to see multiple $10,000 candles in a day.
Okay.
But we're definitely going to see $100,000 Bitcoin. It's like it's
Sure.
programmed
That, yes.
into it, right? Like
I
it's
think,
going to
yeah, I think
happen.
it was like when everybody thought 20 grand was like, oh my gosh, we're holding out for 20. We're going to be so excited. And then it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
okay, we
whatever.
made 20,
Yeah.
right. And so I think 100K is this cycle's 20K,
Yeah,
for the
and
folks who,
I think the high end it could go 7+ figures, but at that point, be prepared that it could retrace back to $70,000, right? Like, that's how Bitcoin works. It's
yeah.
a very amazing digital sponge, right? It can suck up all this wealth and energy, and it can stretch out to
Hmm.
almost infinity, and then can contract just like that, right? Like just the other day, what was it? I was just looking at the total coin market cap volume, 24-hour volume, and this hasn't happened since 2020. $100 billion in a day.
Wow.
Yeah, that hasn't
Okay.
happened in like 2 years. So we're definitely in bullish territory. I think Bitcoin's dominance is going to play a little bit more of a stronger role this time. I don't think we're going to see it pull back like we do as much. I think it's going to maintain its dominance throughout this bull market. I still think, the shit tokens do their things, but Bitcoin is showing its true colors. It is, and this is in one of my articles, it is the lighthouse in the foggy harbor, right?
Hmm.
And it is showing its light, and people are starting to see, oh my gosh, you know, the bee, the bee
It's actually,
symbol is
yeah.
the new bat symbol, right? And if you see the bee symbol, understand it, learn from it. It's important that you start to learn
Hmm.
uh, what they're doing to our money. And it's not just the United States. This has been going on since Roman times, right? Them clipping coins and debasing money to, keep
Right.
the system going. And it's not necessary, right? We know it's not necessary. Bitcoin is the most perfect, beautiful circular economy ever created.
What would the piece of FUD that Bitcoin used more water than the entire city of New York City? Just keep coming up
Again,
with this stuff, man. I'm like, really?
they just keep making this crap up. Uh, um, it just makes me laugh because that's again, you can see that these are the only tools that they have, right? Fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right?
Yeah.
The whole, charade from the other day with Jamie. Let's be very clear. Jamie Dimon and Senator Warren are agreeing on things. Come on. You don't see that this is
Yeah.
a total charade? Like, come on. Like, Elizabeth Warren used to fight for people, for the working man.
Yeah.
Now she's defending Jamie Dimon. this is a joke.
I know.
Bitcoin is going to destroy all of these clowns, right? Bitcoin is the wrecking ball that's going to make billionaires and destroy billionaires, right? Because there's going to be all these billionaires that think they're smarter than
But
Bitcoin, and they'll put out a short position on it right now, like that Gareth Soloway. And I was like, you saw me within 5 seconds of that Gareth Soloway dude putting up that tweet. I was like, thank you for making sure Bitcoin will pump to the next level. Thank you for your
yeah.
donation. Bybit or Deribit or
One
whoever you made the bet with enjoys your money.
Did you? I think you saw this, and we both retweeted it out. But it's a tweet worth mentioning, and it's pulled up right here. Kathy Wood, we all know Kathy from Ark Invest. Again, she's a big crypto Bitcoin bull. Thinks it could go to 1 million by 2030. But the tweet from last week: U.S. Space Force major urges Defense Department to adopt Bitcoin as an offset strategy. Um, Thoughts on that, and just again how Bitcoin actually provides national security and is actually a defense mechanism
I,
for countries and sovereign states.
I've been saying this before. Mr. Lowry's been saying it too, right? Like, Bitcoin is, and I said this earlier in our discussion, Bitcoin saved America, right? Let me say that again. Bitcoin
Yeah.
saved America from economic collapse during the pandemic. It wasn't your handouts, that was part of it, but Bitcoin was a huge part of it, right? And I've been saying this for a long time. The United States needs to sit down with Bitmain and start building a national mining operation, right? That's decentralized and can move and can be liquid like Bitcoin, to protect the United States. Because again, if you're not protecting Bitcoin, you're not protecting the dollar, right? Because again, they're intertwined, they're so interwoven to each other. It- Again, I said this earlier, Bitcoin doesn't need the dollar needs Bitcoin.
Right.
America
But
needs
let me ask
Bitcoin.
you this. Let me ask you this. I know in the history of money, even going back just a couple, 300-400 years, we've always seen that central banks have always held a prominent position of power. And I find in just the course of history that even now that these power brokers are going to be very reluctant to give up their controls to this outside, fully decentralized, pseudo-autonomous network that they can't grasp, control, or manipulate. And I think that really presents the problem. And how would you see, or how do you see entities like central banks co-opting and trying to at least control, regulate, and manipulate Bitcoin to where I think that the great quote from Leo Melman back in 2017 over at the CBOM or COME, when they said with Bitcoin futures, we are going to tame Bitcoin, was his exact quote. And to me, tame means control or manipulate. And you can do that through futures, right? So how do you, other than like a futures, how do you see central banks really coexisting or taking control and kind of taking over a Bitcoin standard world that we would live in? Because I don't see central banks going away.
Yeah, well, first off, I just want to back it up just a second. Let's be very clear. When has a country ever fought an emergent technology and won? The answer is zero, right? So if the United States wants to fight Bitcoin, I will just reference you to China. Did you see what just happened with China? Yeah, well, they kicked out the Bitcoiners, and now their economy is worse than ours. Why is that? Because they kicked out an emergent technology that is literally, and when people call it digital gold, I'm like, that's offensive to Bitcoin. It is like the digital latinum of the
Yeah.
internet, right? It's internet native money, right? Go throw some dollars at your computer. They're not just going to go into it, right?
And I think the thing with what Bitcoin and a truly decentralized network and what Bitcoin does, and the real threat, and I think the real advantage also is that when we move more in this digital world, with AI being more prevalent, that Bitcoin is going to be the currency of AI because AI is going to love it, accept it, and be like, oh, it works great with AI. And so I really think that it is the digital currency of the internet, of AI, of this digital world that we're moving into. And anytime a new technology comes down the road, you can either be the steamroller or you can be the road.
Yeah,
So,
well, and another way I explain it to people that don't get it yet, I say Bitcoin is an artificially intelligent ecosystem, right? It only cares about a couple things. It
there
cares
we
about
go.
block times, and it cares about um, the difficulty rate, right? That's it. That's all Bitcoin really cares about. So you can scream at
Yeah.
the top of your lungs that you don't like Bitcoin or you hate Bitcoin or whatever. You could design all of these policies. You can do whatever you want. It's not going to do anything.
All right. And
Doesn't
there's a
matter.
there's a great article Nick put up there right
Oh
there.
yeah.
Arthur Hayes saying that AI has the potential to send Bitcoin price over 750,000. So again, that's kind of on that way to a million. A lot of people now seem to be echoing this, whether it's Kathy Wood or Samson Mao or Max Kaiser. I do get a little tired of the price prediction talk, though. I think it can be somewhat counterproductive. And a little bit more of noise versus signal in the whole conversation. It's fun to like, oh boy, and you see the price moving, and there's some excitement about that. But I think having been in this for a few cycle, for one full cycle at least, and I've been in this 6 years now. That price prediction can be somewhat of a hopium type of thing. It's fun to like sit around with your friends, and that's one thing. But if you're really starting to like kind of put out stuff and say, I believe that this is going to do this, you better have some solid analytics to back up and substantiate your position. And that's why I always love where you come from, because you do so much digging in the dirt, Gerald. I mean, dude, you're like a mole when it comes to data. Man, you're a data mole, dude. You're in
Well,
there digging and
like
finding.
even until I wouldn't say it was Bitcoin's last pump, I was still not sufficiently satisfied that we were kind of in this bull territory because the hash rate and price action hasn't moved in a positive direction like this for almost a few years. And to see it do it once, isn't once or twice can be an anomaly, right? But when you start to see in groups of three, that's when I see patterns, right? Like I was just looking at the hash
Mhm.
rate chart again, and like I was telling you the other night, is it did do this big pullback, but it's already doing the counter move to that pullback. So don't be surprised. Like I said, we might see a pump right around Christmas, like the 20th to the 25th. But don't be surprised like 5 to 10 days after that if we see it come from 49 or 50 down to like 40, 45 again, and sit there until the halvening, right? It's like for months it could sit there because that could happen until they drop the ETF. But we'll have to see it plays out. The good news is, like I said, we do see Fidelity having a meeting with the SEC. I to answer back to your question with the central banks, I think the central banks just have to realize that it's just like another commodity, right? Um, you they're always my favorite thing about Bitcoin is that it is probably the most pure form of capitalism that we ever have seen, right? Like real pure capitalism, and that's why I like it a lot because it's bringing us back to those times where it's like, how much is this?
Mhm.
It's this much. That's what it is, right? There's no this play in between, right? This tax with that tax, and let me be very clear when I tell people Bitcoin's going to eliminate income tax. It's not going to eliminate all taxes, right? It's not going to eliminate
Right.
all
No.
crime, but Bitcoin disincentivizes crime too, right? Let me extrapolate this one for you really quickly, right? So you're a criminal, and
I am.
you
I'm a
basically
I'm a big criminal. You know me, Gerald.
yeah, you do petty theft, right? You do armed robberies. You just go up to people and you have your billy club and you just whack them on the head. And you have two people in front of you, right? One's got 10 Bitcoin in it, but
Mhm.
it's not, the wallet's not on them, but they have 10 Bitcoin, or the other person has $1,000 cash on them. Who are you gonna knock out and take advantage of? Are you gonna go take the Bitcoiner, tie them up,
Yeah.
throw them in your basement, and then torture them for hours on end? And maybe you'll get a couple words of their seed phrase. Maybe you'll get the Bitcoin, or are you just going to go to the guy
Maybe.
that you know has the cash and just whack him on the head and take his cash? So again, the more people that have the physical assets, they will be attacked, right? Because you can't take
Right. Right.
something that I don't have, right?
Right.
And
It's
again, what
just in
are you
my
going to do?
head. The seed words are here, but it's too bad because I
Exactly.
lost it already in a boating accident, so it doesn't matter.
1,000% correct. So it disincentivizes crime. It disincentivizes war. Thanks, Nick, for that as well. Um, and it really does fix a lot of problems. And it all harkens back to, look at El Salvador. You know, we have people now in America, right, moving back to El Salvador because there's more
Mhm.
opportunities in their country now. Hmm. Yeah, you want to fix
Mhm.
immigration? Legalize Bitcoin.
That's true. I think that's a big reason why a lot of folks are trying to enter the United States is they're looking for a better way of life. They're looking for a stable economy. They're looking for prosperity. And if you do kind of what you've seen Bukele do and roll out, I don't hear anybody from El Salvador going, "This sucks, man."
There's
I don't
yeah,
hear anybody in El Salvador going,
I've had I've because I like to do research. There are some people that don't use the Bitcoin protocol in El Salvador. Um, but the distinction I pointed out to this person that said, well, there was a lot of these people that just took the money and ran. I was like, yeah, but you do realize in less than 1 year, the state gave access to the whole population. They had banking services, right? Where 60 to
yeah,
75 years prior, the traditional services had 75 plus years, and you're only banking what, 40% of the population, 35% of the population. So Bitcoin fixed that problem, whether people are using it or not. In less than 1 year, the whole country has banking services.
you talk about banking the unbanked. That's always kind of been the line or the point that a lot of folks like to go with. We're banking the unbanked. Well, here
Guess
you
what?
go.
Whether those people took the $20 or not, right? They had access to funds, right? They had access to banking technology that's now instant. And I love pointing out the guy, right? That literally after they made it legal, they went to this guy who used to take the bus, right, to the Capitol
Hmm.
to pay his phone bill. He had to take a day off from work, get on the
Oh,
bus,
jeez.
wait in line for 3 to 4 hours to pay his phone bill. Now he does it on his phone with the Lightning
What?
Network. Click, click, done.
Stand in line for 3 to 4 hours?
To pay his phone
Doesn't
bill.
seem right.
Correct. Yeah. No, it doesn't. Well, guess what? He doesn't
Doesn't
do
seem
any of that
right.
anymore. So he saves the all those days he used to waste. So 12 days a year he used to waste and pay. That adds up, right? Those
Wow.
hours he waited in line, those add up. So all of that time is now back to him. That's amazing.
I just can't imagine standing in line to pay my phone bill. I'd be like, just disconnect my
Screw
phone.
this.
I'll get a new
Yeah.
one. Seriously. It's not going to. I mean, my gosh. Ugh,
But that's the
nuts.
point, right? Like paper money literally kept stealing from him, right? And I tell people this, those Federal Reserve shit tokens that you get when you exchange paper money, they make you
Hmm.
poor. They steal your wealth. That's what they do.
James Lavish had a great quote. CBDCs are a bridge for the government to cross from taxing your earnings to overseeing and controlling every single penny you earned and spend forever. James Lavish. I love James. I follow him a lot on the whatever app we use to do stuff and whatever. The Elon app, that's what we should call it. But James is a great guy. I love his content. And again, that just to tie into your spot there.
No, agreed. Look, I think there will be some type of stable coin out there, right? It looks like it's going to be USDC. I've said that for a long time. I've even used
Mhm.
USDC and Tether, um, but they're tools, right? They're not native digital currency like Bitcoin, right? They're not. It's not the same, right? And you can use them. They're great, but let's be very clear. The government has trouble building Web 2.0 static pages. If you think that they can build a blockchain and make their own money, yeah,
They're going
go
to
talk to
outsource that to
Nigeria.
GoDaddy.
Yeah, go talk to
They'll
Nigeria and
outsource it all to GoDaddy for their
yeah,
websites.
how's the
Yeah.
e-Naira doing? Yeah. Oh, it's not doing so great.
Hmm.
Wonder why? Oh, because nobody wants to use it. So what are they using? They're using Bitcoin. Oh, shocking. So yeah, throw out your CBDCs and waste billions of taxpayer dollars. And there's only a few countries that look like they are heading in the right direction. Sweden.
Do,
I
do you
mean,
remember when it was like a couple of years ago, within the last 2 years, the whole talk of FedCoin and FedCoin was coming, and it was, weren't they using it as some private settlement tool for banks and things like that
oh
behind
yeah, yeah,
behind the
no,
scenes
no.
and
So FedNow is
FedNow, that's it. FedNow, that's it. Yeah.
yeah, and it is operational. Um, but if it is operational, why am I still waiting for stuff to pay my bills, right? Like why is my bill still not settled, right? I paid literally, this is not even a joke. I just paid my bills the other day. They're due on the 10th, but they won't post till the 11th, and I paid them on the 7th or the 6th.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's another scam that the bankers have been rolling over most of America for years now, right? Let's talk about that scam that's been going on for some time, right? Like most of America isn't aware of. Let's talk about this one, since you
Yeah.
brought it up. So if
Well,
you're using,
we got about 8 minutes left in today's episode, so let's finish on a strong note.
yeah, so the banksters of the world, right? Ever since we had online banking, right, and you could do all these fancy, cool things, they love automatic payments. But
Sure.
the
Yeah.
initial iterations of those payments, they would start to fail because if it was tied to your debit card, right, your debit card has an expiration date. Right. So they started behind the scenes changing all these rules and regulations where they could still reach into your bank account, even if that debit card is past due, because you authorized them, right? You gave them authorized access to your bank account, right? So they can still reach in there. So here's the scam. You go to your online portal, right? And you go to play, and of course they'll say, well, you can set it up as automatic payments to avoid this. Yeah, of course you can. Of course you can. But here's the thing, right? So just like I was saying, my bills are due on the 10th. Well, not all of them, but a handful were due on the 10th, right? So I scheduled them on like the 5th or the 6th. But guess what? The 10th is on a Sunday. So they won't post till Monday at like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, right? Because that's how the system
Mhm,
works.
mhm.
So guess what? Oh, so all those couple bills that didn't post till the 11th, well, all those companies, they hit you with late fees. Bing, bing, bing. So how many late fees has America been paying, but been paying their bills on time? Oh, billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. Yeah, America's been paying late fees for shit that's not been late.
Hey, before we close out,
you're like, I'm pissed. Sorry.
I am. I just wanted to really quick before we wrap up today. And again, thank you, Bitcoin Live, and thank you, Nick, for putting this on and helping produce this. A great job today. Really quick, it looks like I just want to talk about our friends at Quantum Economics briefly. Matti Greenspan and the team. I know that they're launching a Bitcoin mining venture. It looks like this is going to be getting off the ground because Bitcoin mining, we talked about at the start of the show. You're seeing just even again, stocks from whether it's Marathon to MicroStrategy, Bitcoin mining stocks year over year are up massively. They're going to continue to go up. I just want to, what can you share with us as an update from Quantum Economics? Matti Greenspan, looks like the newsletter's back out. I love getting that in my inbox, but what's the latest that you've heard from the team?
The latest I heard was that, they did get the funding and that the facilities will start to be built soon. But I don't know when that is. How soon is soon? I can't say. But they did get the funding, and to get the funding is the most important. And I know they have the rates already locked in with, I believe with ERCOT. So it's all a matter of getting the miners. Oh, there we go. There's the tweet.
Right. Yeah.
And getting them in place. But yeah, I mean, I tell people, if you're building a business and you're not considering taking a portion of that energy and adding Bitcoin mining into that equation,
right,
you're
stupid.
You're dumb. Correct.
Yeah. I think, and this is where I think that whether it's a government or it's a company like we see Michael Saylor, whether you add Bitcoin as the asset to your balance sheet or you have exposure to it via you're using mining to some of the energy that you offset to use that to help mine. So let's say maybe you're a restaurant or something like that.
Exactly.
And you've got Bitcoin mining in the back, but that heat can be used to power something else. Or maybe you're, oh my gosh, here's something that really gets me is when is Vegas going to start all those slot machines, all that energy, right? They could hook those up to Bitcoin miners and everybody who's not even playing a slot machine. Can you imagine the energy that's going to that to power a Bitcoin miner?
They could literally, there's Bitcoin mining equipment they could literally install right into their systems. Like they have, little stick drives that could be programmed in. It could be done, right? Like it literally can be done. And that's the beauty of Bitcoin, right? It doesn't matter how technologically advanced your society is, right? You can be here or you can be here like Sweden and Estonia, or you could be like the US, which we're still the top, but we're not the very top. But it doesn't matter where you are on that spectrum, right? You could be like I just saw I forget the name of the one content creator, but I think she's in somewhere in South America, like Peru, and she's the lady selling her, her beautiful woven, throws and stuff, and right on the middle of the table, except her Bitcoin preferado, right? And she's in the middle of some mountain.
Preferado.
Yeah.
Preferado.
And they're on the middle of some mountain, in the middle of Peru. And guess what? It doesn't matter. She can still take it there. So
because Starlink works and you can send it via
well, it doesn't matter, right? If you have your QR, I always tell people to start a Bitcoin business, it's this simple, right? You get your wallet QR code, you slap it to your table, you have your products and goods and services, you're open for business.
The hard part is finding people who have Bitcoin that they want to then use as a currency to give to you for your product, because most people who have Bitcoin that I find don't really want to sell it. They want to hodl, stack sats, and self-custody, because that's how you stay smart and stay safe.
And again, that leads us right into, and we'll get into this in the next episode.
Gresham's Law. Yep.
Exactly. But we'll get into this in the next episode. But this is why Litecoin is important, right?
Right.
This is
Well,
why, because there are a lot of people that don't get
and
the Lightning
another
Network,
topic.
right? They don't
Right.
get the Lightning Network. There's a lot of people that's like a quadratic equation, algebra, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
using L1 is not that hard. Well, using LTC's L1 is not that hard either. So again, that's why it becomes important. The meme pools fill up. No one wants to do a transaction on L1, and they go, well, I don't like Lightning. And there's a lot of people that are like that, right? They go, oh, I'll use this one. Yeah. Why? Oh, because it's fast and it's cheap and it works and it's never been down. It's as
Right.
simple as that.
Right.
Anyway, the
And
show is called Proof of
I think,
Work.
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, the show is called Proof of Work. I want to thank my co-host MattySats. He's the man. He's got the silkiest voice in the land. I want to thank Nick for giving me the offer to do this, and the team at Bitcoin Live. We appreciate it immensely. We want to thank Quantum Economics, Roundly X, and anyone else out there. Also, I did want to throw out the disc golf because we didn't get into the disc golf chat, but I want to talk about it just for a
We
minute.
didn't get into this. No.
That's cool. We'll get into it just for a second. I want to congratulate Calvin Heimberg. He won Player of the Year. I want to congratulate Kristen Tatar. She won Player of the Year. I want to congratulate Ricky Wasaki, right? He took his Bitcoin position. He took a big bonus in Bitcoin a few years back, and he held it through the bear market like a champ. And now it's in the green, and he is a happy, happy man. Congratulations to Ricky. And I want to thank Ken Klimo. He's 12-time world champion, great guy. He started following me on Twitter just a week or two ago. Give him a shout out. Thanks for the follow. And thank you for anybody all my followers and fans. Crack a beer. And again, I want to thank MattySats because again, he's like the peanut butter to my jelly. And I love doing this. I love doing it, and I love talking.
You're the chocolate to my peanut butter, okay? You're the chocolate to my
Nice.
peanut butter.
Awesome, because I love Reese's. But anyway, it's been a pleasure. I want to again thank everyone that's tuned in, and please share, like, retweet, like Bitcoin Live, subscribe to their channel, etc. And again, thank you so much.
Yeah. All right.